The cafe is closed for the night. Yunjo and Inho say goodbye to their boss, Jumi, and leave. Jumi checks her phone and sees another call. She hesitates, then ignores it. She's tired, still weak from a fever, and just wants to rest. Outside, a black car pulls up. The guards tense as director Jung Yoon-yo steps out. Inside, Jumi is cleaning when the door opens. She apologizes that they're closed, then freezes. It's him. He calls her by her full name, Cho Jumi. His tone is sharp. She tries to act calm, saying she'll tell her father about the meetings, but he ignores it. Instead, he mentions the child. Her heart drops. He knows. She denies it, says it's not his, even claims she's been with other men. He doesn't believe her. He demands answers, grabs her arm, and pulls her out to his car. She protests, but he says he won't hurt a pregnant woman. The smell of cigarettes makes her dizzy, so he gives her a handkerchief. She says even if she has the baby, she'll never ask him for responsibility. He smirks. He knows she wouldn't. He only cares that she carries the child. As the car moves, he talks about getting food for the baby. She insists she's fine, but he ignores her. He lights another cigarette, covers her eyes with his hand, and tells her to close them. Her thoughts spiral. She remembers their first meeting. Her father forced her into a blind date with him. Young was 3 hours late, cold and sharp when he finally arrived. He told her she'd had enough time to run away. She introduced herself, but when she tried to leave, he followed, making it clear she couldn't just walk out of his life. Back at the cafe later, Jumi tried to live normally. She spoke to her mom, who begged her to come home, worried she'd end up with a gangster like her father. Jumi reassured her, saying nothing important happened, but her mom's disappointment was clear. A customer came in. Jumi served him politely. After he left, her worker teased that the man always sat in the same spot, always watching Jumi. But Jumi doesn't realize. Her quiet life is about to spiral deeper into danger. After brushing off her worker's teasing, Jumi checks her phone. It's a message from Hye-sung, asking if she'll attend Jong-hyung's engagement party. She tells her staff she'll step out after midnight and lets them close up on their own. At the party, the mood is lively. The couple waves at guests, but whispers are everywhere. A woman sitting next to Jumi leans in, mocking the bride for smiling through controversy. She smirks and says everyone knows the groom still has feelings for Jumi. Jumi shakes her head firmly. He was never her man. The woman presses, saying Jumi's habit of overthinking is the real problem, but Jumi doesn't rise to the bait. She explains that showing up was her choice, to avoid looking bitter. Watching her ex-friend happy gives her closure, letting her move on without regrets. The woman sighs and suggests Jumi find someone new, admitting she herself went on a blind date just to please her father. As the drinks keep flowing, Jumi turns and her eyes lock on a familiar face. The man from her cafe. He's across the room, watching her. She remembers her worker's words, but shakes it off, blaming her nerves. When asked if she knows anyone there, she quickly says no. Later, outside, the night feels heavy. Walking alone, Jumi senses someone following her. She glances over her shoulder. Nothing. Her heart races as she remembers her college days, when a man was once sent to intimidate her until Jong-hyung saved her. Now, there's no one. She checks a car's side mirror and freezes. A shadow is closing in. Fear strikes her chest. The man calls her name. She spins around in panic, only to jump again when a hand lands on her shoulder at home. It's her mom. Her mother worries why Jumi hasn't answered calls, why she's out so late. Jumi, still shaken, asks when her mom arrived. Her mom admits she's had a drink and insists they go inside. It's cold. Over coffee, her mom wastes no time. She asks about the blind date. Jumi says it ended like she'd already told her. Her mom nods, then says she set up another one with the son of Haesong Hospital's chairman. Frustrated, Jumi begs her to stop. Her mom argues it's only fair. Her daughter shouldn't be stuck in her father's politics. Jumi insists that isn't the issue, but her mom cuts her off, hinting it's about status. Her mom urges her to just meet him. If they fall in love and run away, what could her father really do? Jumi, exhausted, says she just wants to sleep. Her mom sighs, checks the time, and agrees to leave, promising to set up the date anyway. That weekend, Jumi finds herself at a fancy hotel restaurant. Another blind date. The man introduces himself as Lee Taeju, smooth, polite, full of compliments, but Jumi feels nothing. She listens as he talks about his family, but her mind drifts back to last week, to the man who left such a strong impression, Director Jung. Then Taiju mentions her cafe, snapping her back. She starts to reply when her eyes catch on someone across the room. Her breath stops. It's Director Jung. Their eyes meet, her chest tightens, and behind him, her father. The air turns cold. Jung passes her table, giving her a sharp glance, while her father clears his throat, his presence heavy and commanding. Jumi's phone buzzes, a message from her father. End this. Meet me. His tone is harsh, leaving her teeth clenched in frustration. Jumi stumbles out of the villa, clutching her cracked phone. Her chest is tight with fear. At the curb, the black car is still parked. Director Jung is inside. She rushes up, knocking on the window, her voice trembling as she calls his name. The glass rolls down slowly. His cold eyes meet hers. She's panting, desperate, asking him to help. He studies her face in silence, cigarette smoke curling in the air between them. Finally, he opens the door. Get in. She climbs into the car, still shaken. Her hands won't stop trembling. He glances at her, then at her broken phone, asking what happened. She tries to brush it off, saying it's nothing, but he doesn't believe her. The tension in the car is heavy. Jumi grips the handkerchief he gave her before, pressing it to her face. She can't tell if she feels safer with him, or even more trapped. He leans back, arms crossed, and tells the driver to move. As the car pulls away, she keeps her eyes on the passing streets, unable to calm her racing heart. Then, his voice cuts through the silence. You're being followed, aren't you? She freezes. Her lips part, but no words come out. He smirks faintly, almost like he's amused by her fear. She insists she's fine, but he doesn't buy it. The car slows to a stop outside her apartment. She hesitates, not wanting to step out into the dark. He notices her fear, and for a moment, his gaze softens. If you're scared, then don't go alone, he says quietly. But before she can respond, he looks away, lighting another cigarette as if the moment never happened. Jumi steps out of the car, clutching her phone tightly. The night is cold, and every shadow feels like it's moving. She takes a deep breath, telling herself to be strong, but as she heads inside, she can't shake the feeling. Someone is still watching her. Upstairs, her broken phone buzzes again. Another unknown call. Her blood runs cold. She whispers to herself, "Who is it this time?" The fear doesn't leave. If anything, it's only just beginning. The door creaks open and Jumi's nails dig into his sleeve. Her heart pounds as the director steps forward, shielding her with his body. But instead of a stranger, the guard from earlier walks in, bowing quickly. He says the men checked the perimeter, but found nothing suspicious. Jumi lets out a shaky breath, but the director doesn't lower his gun right away. His sharp gaze stays on the guard, as if he doesn't fully trust anyone. He finally lowers the weapon, slipping it back into his coat. Jumi looks at him in disbelief, realizing this side of him, the one holding a gun so naturally, is the part of him her father never talks about. The guard leaves, and silence fills the room again. She leans against the wall, her legs weak. "It wasn't just in my head," she whispers, remembering the sound of that puffer jacket on the stairs, the shifted fire alarm, the hidden camera. Her fear feels more real now than ever. The director steps closer, brushing past her. His voice is calm, but heavy. "This won't stop here. Whoever's after you is already inside your life." His words make her shiver. She tries to ask what he means, but he cuts her off, telling her not to involve her father unless she's ready to lose everything. His words sting because she knows they're true. If her father finds out, he'll lock her away, and all her efforts to live independently will collapse. Tears well up in her eyes, but she quickly wipes them away, not wanting him to see. He lights another cigarette, his expression unreadable, then sits down on the couch she had been sprawled across earlier. "You'll stay here tonight," he says firmly, as if it's already decided. She starts to protest, but the look in his eyes silences her. As he leans back, exhaling smoke, she watches him quietly. For a moment, the thought crosses her mind. Maybe the real danger isn't just the stalker outside, but also the man sitting in front of her, the one who holds her safety in his hands yet refuses to show what he truly wants. Still trembling, she curls up on the opposite end of the couch, hugging her knees to her chest. The villa feels both safer and scarier with him inside. Her broken phone lies discarded on the floor, a reminder of how trapped she really is. And as she finally drifts into uneasy sleep, she doesn't see his eyes lingering on her, watchful, guarded, and unreadable. Jumi stands frozen on the sidewalk, staring at the empty space where the car had been. Her heart races, and her palms turn clammy. The image of the stalker's bruised face inside the trunk won't leave her mind. She wants to believe it's finally over, but instead of relief, a cold dread creeps in. The director didn't just scare the man, he captured him, and now his fate rests entirely in his hands. She takes a shaky breath, clutching her new phone. The thought of calling the police flashes in her mind. But she remembers the director's warning: if her father finds out, she will lose everything. Her independence, her cafes, even her freedom. No one would believe she wasn't involved. Her phone buzzes suddenly, making her flinch. It's a message, just a single line. Go home, don't wander. Her stomach drops because it isn't from her father. It's from him, the director. Somehow he knows exactly where she is. She types a quick reply, fingers trembling. What did you do with him? No response comes. The silence makes her more nervous than any answer could. As she turns to leave, she hears footsteps behind her. She spins around, expecting the stalker, but it's just a couple walking past, laughing together. Still, she can't shake the feeling that eyes are on her. She hurries down the street, pulling her coat tighter around herself. Later that night, back at her villa, she locks the doors and checks every window twice. The place feels different now, tainted by the discovery of the hidden camera. Sitting on the couch, she buries her face in her hands, whispering to herself, "What have I gotten into?" A knock echoes through the villa, making her jump. She freezes, staring at the door. No one should be here this late. Slowly, she approaches and looks through the peephole. Her breath catches. It's him, the director, standing there with his usual unreadable expression. She opens the door just a crack, asking why he's here. He doesn't answer right away. Instead, he holds out her broken phone, the one he snapped in half. Except now it's been fixed, replaced with a new model, identical to the old one. "You shouldn't carry around broken things," he says coolly. His tone is calm, but his eyes are sharp, searching her face for a reaction. She doesn't know whether to thank him or scream at him. Finally, she blurts out the question burning inside her. "What did you do with that man?" He doesn't flinch, doesn't look away. "That depends on you," he replies. "Do you want him gone for good, or do you want to keep living in fear?" Her throat tightens. For the first time, she realizes this man doesn't just protect her. He decides for her. And whatever she chooses tonight might change everything. Jumi listens quietly, her hands folded on the table as Taiju speaks. His honesty catches her off guard. She expected him to act like the perfect gentleman, keeping his family's expectations hidden. But instead, he shows her the same weight she feels pressing on her shoulders. She looks at him for a long moment before saying that maybe they are not so different after all. Both of them are being pushed by their families into lives they didn't really choose. He gives a faint smile and says at least they can admit it to each other without pretending. The waiter comes by to pour water, and the two sit in silence for a while. Jumi stares at the condensation forming on her glass, thinking about how strange it is to feel comforted by someone who is supposed to be a stranger. She tells him softly that she has always wanted something normal. Not power, not money, not influence, just the chance to live without being judged by her father's shadow. Taiju nods, saying he envies her courage for admitting that. He confesses that even now, he still lives every day as if following a script written for him by his father. Her thoughts drift back to the previous night, to Jung Youngjo's cold words over the phone, and the haunting image of the stalker tied up. She clenches her hands together to hide the tremble in her fingers. Taiju notices and asks if something else is on her mind. She quickly shakes her head, saying, "It's nothing." To distract herself, she changes the subject and says maybe their parents' plans don't have to control them. Maybe they can decide how to handle things themselves. He leans forward slightly, curiosity in his eyes, and asks what she means. She laughs softly and says she doesn't know yet, but she is tired of being told what to do. Maybe instead of fighting the setup, they should decide for themselves what comes of it. Taiju raises an eyebrow, surprised by her sudden boldness, and admits that he likes the way she thinks. For the first time in a long while, Jumi feels a small weight lift from her chest. It doesn't erase the mess waiting outside this restaurant, the stalker, her father, Director Jung. But for this moment, she feels like she can breathe. She takes a sip of her water, looks across the table, and tells Taeju that maybe this lunch is a good place to start. Unbeknownst to her, however, just outside the restaurant, a familiar black car is parked on the curb. Inside, Young Young-jo sits in silence, one hand resting on the steering wheel. His sharp eyes follow her through the window, unreadable and cold. He doesn't go inside. He just watches. Jumi walks out of the building with the escort beside her, the night air cold against her skin. Her father's call still echoes in her ears, heavy and suffocating. She glances back once, just enough to see the black car pulling away, and her chest tightens. It feels like no matter where she goes, he is there, watching, pressing closer into her life in ways she cannot stop. The driver drops her near the main house, and she forces herself to straighten up before walking inside. Her mother is already waiting in the living room, dressed neatly as if she had expected Jumi to arrive at any moment. Her father sits nearby, flipping through a newspaper, but his presence is the one that weighs most. He looks up briefly, his eyes sharp and calculating, before setting the paper aside. Her mother greets her warmly, asking if she has eaten, but her father cuts through the small talk, asking why she went to Wusong. Jumi freezes for a second, then calmly says she had something personal to discuss. She tries to avoid his gaze, but her father notices and presses further. Personal doesn't mean you walk into places like that alone, he says firmly. What exactly are you trying to get involved in? Her mother tries to soften the moment, saying that Jumi is under stress, that she should be allowed to breathe without being questioned all the time. But Jumi knows her father well. He is not a man who leaves things alone. She chooses her words carefully, telling him she only wanted to understand things better for herself, that she isn't hiding anything. Her father studies her, his silence more terrifying than his anger. Then he nods slowly, saying only that she should be careful because people are watching her every move. His words hit her harder than she expects because she knows it's true. There are always eyes on her. Her classmates back then, the stalker now, the director, always. She excuses herself and heads upstairs to her room. Closing the door behind her, she sinks onto the bed and stares at the ceiling. Her father's warning keeps echoing. People are watching. She remembers Director Jung's cigarette smoke, his unreadable eyes, the way he said it didn't seem meaningless. The thought of that unsettles her more than she wants to admit. She tells herself she doesn't care, that it was just a mistake, but her heart refuses to calm down. Her phone vibrates on the nightstand. For a moment she thinks it might be Taeju, but when she checks, the screen shows a new unknown number. A chill spreads through her. Against her better judgment, she answers. At first, there is only silence on the other end. Then a faint, distorted voice whispers her name. Jumi. Her body goes cold. It isn't Taeju. It isn't the director. It's the stalker. She grips the phone so tightly her hand shakes, listening as the voice says, "You can run to them, but they can't protect you forever." The call cuts off, leaving only the sound of her own breathing in the room. She doesn't move for a long time. Then, slowly, she whispers to herself that maybe her father was right. People really are watching, and she has no idea how much time she has before everything collapses. Director Jung leans back against the seat, his hand brushing over his tie as if trying to loosen the weight pressing against his chest. The city lights blur past the window, but none of it registers. His mind keeps circling back to her. He hates the fact that he remembers so much. The way she whispered his name, the faint red marks on her skin, the hesitation in her voice when she tried to call it all meaningless. If it were meaningless, why did she look at him like that before walking out of Wusong? Why did her words carry more weight than she wanted them to? His driver slows as they approach the main house, and Jung notices another black sedan already parked by the gate. He narrows his eyes. It's Choi Jumi's car. She went straight home after storming out of his office. He wonders if she went there to confess to her parents or to keep hiding the truth like she always does. Inside the car, he debates with himself. He could leave things as they are, bury the memory, let her crawl back into the safe little world her parents built for her. But something in him refuses. She told him it was just a one-night stand. Yet she came storming into his office, demanding answers about protection, about whether someone lived or died because of her. That wasn't meaningless. That was fear. That was something real. His driver glances at him through the mirror and quietly asks if they should proceed to the chairman's residence. Young hesitates, then shakes his head. "Drive," he says flatly. "Not there." The driver doesn't question it and steers them back into the night. Meanwhile, inside the Choi family's main house, Jumi sits stiffly in the living room. Her mother is perched on the sofa, perfect as always, while her father paces slowly with a cigarette in hand. The heavy silence makes her chest tighten. She finally breaks it, saying she needs to talk to them both. Her voice wavers slightly, but she keeps going, telling them she doesn't want to be dragged into decisions made for her. Her mother interrupts, reminding her that family honor must come first, that her future was decided long ago. Her father stays silent, only watching her with an unreadable expression. Jumi clenches her fists. She wants to scream that she isn't just their daughter, their pawn, or a link in a chain of alliances. But her throat closes up, and the words stay locked inside. Instead, she says calmly that she'll follow their arrangements for now, but won't give them her heart. That, she insists, will always belong to her. Her mother frowns, asking what nonsense she's talking about. But her father exhales smoke and tells her to leave it. Jumi looks between them, her chest tight, and excuses herself. As she walks out of the main house and down the long stone path, the night air feels cold on her skin. She pulls her coat tighter, thinking she finally said something, even if it wasn't enough. Her phone buzzes in her hand. She checks the screen and freezes. It's him, Director Jung. Her thumb hovers over the decline button. Part of her wants to erase everything, to forget that night, to pretend none of it ever happened. But another part of her, one she can't silence, wants to hear what he has to say. Slowly, she presses accept and brings the phone to her ear. His voice comes low and steady through the line. "You said it meant nothing, but you're still thinking about it, aren't you?" Her breath catches, and she stops in the middle of the path, unable to move. Jumi goes home to visit her parents, but instead of a warm welcome, her mother complains that she hardly ever comes by, and even brings up the failed matchmaking with the hospital director's son. Jumi argues back, saying she's not alive just to fulfill their wishes. Her father joins in, reminding her they funded her cafe and asking when he'll finally see a return on his investment. Things get heated when Jumi insists she has her own life and doesn't care about the hospital director's son. Her father mocks her cafe, calling it worthless, and she finally storms out, declaring she won't come back for a while. Outside, Jumi realizes everything she owns really belongs to her father, even the driver waiting to take her home. Feeling suffocated, she asks the driver to stop and decides she won't return until she can stand on her own. Back at her cafe, things are quiet, and she tries to enjoy a calm moment with her staff. But then a mysterious woman in heels enters, orders an espresso, and spends the whole time silently watching Jumi. She looks wealthy and out of place, making Jumi wonder what she's really doing there. Before leaving, the woman thanks them politely, and Jumi's employees whisper that maybe she's scouting the cafe to buy it, or even take over the whole building. Later, after sending her staff home, Jumi feels uneasy and decides to take a pregnancy test. To her shock, the result is positive. Her hands shake as she stares at the 2 lines, her mind filled with worry. She thinks about how she could never raise a child from just one night, especially without love for the father. At that moment, a message from her father pops up, ordering her to attend an event and calling her childish. Jumi doesn't reply, sitting there lost in thought, caught between fear, anger, and the heavy weight of her future. Jumi forces herself to freshen up in the restroom, staring at her pale reflection in the mirror. Her heart pounds as she thinks about the 2 lines on the test, the hospital visit, and the way Director Jung looked at her just moments ago. Everything feels heavier now. The event, her father's pressure, even the air around her. When she finally steps out, she notices the crowd buzzing with excitement over the partnership announcement. Cameras flash, reporters whisper, and on stage, Song Hyung is smiling like she owns the room. Jumi stays in the back, holding her stomach, her thoughts running wild. She remembers how her father had mocked her cafe, calling it worthless, and now here she is, standing in his world again, completely out of place. She thinks about the stranger who came to her cafe, how she was actually this powerful director, and realizes she might have been scoping her out the entire time. The idea that her small cafe could be tied to something much bigger both scares and confuses her. As the applause dies down, she feels someone's hand brush against hers. She looks up. It's Director Jung again. He doesn't say much, just glances at her with those unreadable eyes. For a moment, she wonders if he knows something. She tries to steady herself, but her body feels weak. When the conference ends, she slips out quietly, hoping no one notices. Back in her room, she sinks onto the bed, pulling her knees close. The weight of everything presses harder. The baby, her father's control, her collapsing cafe, and Director Jung's sudden return. She whispers to herself that maybe her father was right. Maybe everything she has really isn't hers. But then she remembers the moment she told the driver to stop, the promise she made to herself to stand on her own. She clings to that thought, even as tears blur her vision. The door suddenly clicks open. She startles, wiping her face, and sees Inhu standing there nervously with a bag of documents from the cafe. He says he came because she left in a hurry and thought she might need them. Jumi forces a smile, thanking him, but deep inside, she feels the storm building again. Because now, with the baby on her mind and Director Jung so close, she knows her quiet cafe life might never be the same again. Jumi freezes, clutching his phone tightly. Her heart pounds as his words echo. "Are you sure I don't know everything?" She tries to laugh it off, insisting again that it's just cramps, but her shaky voice betrays her. Director Jung doesn't press further, only leaning back with that unreadable expression of his. He tells her that lies have a way of showing up, no matter how well you hide them. His calm tone makes her feel even more exposed. She sets the phone down and sits at the edge of the bed, her hands wrapped around her stomach. The pain hasn't eased, and her mind keeps racing back to the pregnancy test, the fainting, the vomiting earlier at the event. She thinks to herself that if he really suspects, it won't be long before the truth slips out. Just then, her phone buzzes again. It's another message from her father. "If you don't show up in 5 minutes, I'm coming to find you myself." She squeezes the phone, torn between fear and exhaustion. Director Jung notices her tense grip and asks if she's scared of something. She shakes her head, saying she's just tired, but he doesn't look convinced. He tells her she should rest here for the night instead of running around. Jumi hesitates, then slowly lies back down on the couch, pulling her knees close. Director Jung glances at her one last time before turning off the bedside lamp. The room falls silent, except for the faint sound of her uneven breathing. She shuts her eyes, but her thoughts won't stop. Her father's control, the mysterious Song Hyung, the cafe, and now this child that changes everything. She thinks back to the promise she made to herself when she told the driver to stop, that she wouldn't return home until she could stand on her own. But lying there now, with pain pressing into her body and secrets hanging heavy between her and Director Jung, she wonders if she really has the strength to face what's coming. Morning light filters into the room. When Jumi slowly opens her eyes, she realizes she's not on the couch anymore. She's tucked into the bed, a blanket pulled over her. She sits up in shock, remembering how she fell asleep across the room. Turning her head, she sees him sitting by the window, sipping coffee, watching the city below like nothing happened. Before she can speak, he sets down his cup and asks softly, "Are you going to keep hiding it from me?" Her breath catches. She doesn't answer, but the way her hands instinctively move to her stomach is enough of a reply. She's been acting off all day and can't shake the feeling that someone has noticed. When her eyes land on the director, she gets nervous, thinking he might have guessed her secret. She's pregnant. He calls her name, startling her, and she quickly explains that she just needs some rest. He pats her head and tells her to stay quiet since he can't watch her back. When he lies down to sleep, she's surprised. She's never seen him like this, calm and peaceful. And she can't stop staring. Suddenly, his eyes open and he catches her. Embarrassed, she tries to cover it up, but he teases her, leaving her flustered. She says she'd rather sleep in her own room, but he warns that if Executive Choi finds out, he won't save her. She stays, admitting she's already in his debt. Then he asks why she keeps following Choi's orders when she clearly dislikes him. She hesitates but says it's easier to go along and keep the peace. He tells her that what she calls sacrifice is actually running away, and his words hit her hard. Trying to change the subject, she asks if he often sleeps next to women. He brushes her off, telling her to rest. She snaps back, and he surprises her by calling her pet names. She blushes and protests, but he only smirks. Finally, she asks why he did all those things to her, including that night they spent together. He asks if she's ready for the truth and warns her that knowing comes with consequences. She says she'd rather not know, but her heart feels uneasy. Still, lying close to him under the blanket on this snowy night, she feels calm, even safe, despite how dangerous he is. The next morning, she gets a message from her father, reminding her to come for breakfast. She realizes she fell asleep so soundly beside the director that she didn't even notice when he left. As she walks down the hall, she spots the CEO at a table with some men, and Director Jung is there too. The CEO says that even though she holds the title of CEO, experts will run things. She agrees, looking for Director Jung's support, but he stays silent. When the CEO asks if they know each other, she joins the group, still thinking about how much she owes him. The CEO offers her wine, teasing when she hesitates. She brushes it off, saying it's too early, and the CEO smirks. Then the director suddenly clears his throat, making everyone turn. He smiles faintly, and the tension at the table grows. The CEO recalls that Choi Jumi had once said he wasn't funny, but Jumi corrects her, saying he was actually the most gentle person she'd met. This shocks the CEO, who notes how sure Jumi sounds after just one meeting. Jumi replies that arranged meetings can bring surprises, which catches the CEO's interest. But when Jumi mentions she didn't pass on the CEO's message to the director, the CEO slams her glass down in anger. Before things get worse, someone steps in to smooth it over. The director laughs, grabs his lighter, and says he's leaving. Before walking out, he looks at Jumi and tells her to get up. Jumi stands after the director and politely thanks the CEO for inviting her, but the CEO slams her hand on the table, calling everything ridiculous. Jumi doesn't react, simply walking out. Outside, she sees the director waiting. She tries to say something, but he cuts her off, asking if she's coming. She explains she can't take a separate car. He tells her there are no cars left and that if she doesn't get in, she'll have to walk all the way to Sheol in the snow. With no choice, she agrees and waits for the bodyguard to open the door. Inside the car, the silence feels heavy. Jumi thinks about how long the ride will be, over an hour in the snow, stuck next to him. Her mind drifts to her appointment tomorrow with the obstetrician. She feels torn. She's planning an abortion, yet the thought of it makes her chest tighten. She remembers all 6 pregnancy tests, each showing 2 lines. The clerk even said it was strange for all of them to be positive if she wasn't really pregnant. Touching her stomach, she wonders how something so tiny can shake her so deeply, twisting her emotions like she's trapped in a maze with no exit. Suddenly, a sharp pain shoots through her stomach and she gasps. The director glances at her. She asks why he's staring, but he brushes it off. She claims she's only hungry, and he ignores her, putting a cigarette between his lips. She shifts away, worried about the smoke in such a small space. Before he lights it, the bodyguard offers to help, but the director refuses, saying he's tired of cigarettes anyway. Instead, he suggests they stop somewhere to eat. Then, almost mockingly, he says she needs more flesh on her bones, making crude remarks about her body. She calls him mean, and he smirks, saying kind words are for people who want to live long. Then, he leans closer and asks who really has no conscience, her or him. His words leave her uneasy, making her wonder if he means something deeper. At the hospital, she waits for her appointment, watching a happy pregnant couple walk in together. The nurse calls her and the doctor confirms she's 5 weeks along. He says her uterus is weak but reassures her to take care of herself and come back in 2 weeks. She stays quiet, holding a cup of coffee, but when she tries to speak, the doctor interrupts her. Frustrated, she squeezes the cup and blurts out that there aren't many things she really wants in life. This pregnancy feels like just one of those things she didn't ask for. That night, she calls her friend Hyasun, who invites her on a weekend trip before her wedding. Jumi teases her, but when she says she can't go because she has plans, she touches her stomach, thinking this might be the day she says goodbye to the life growing inside her. After the call, she goes back to work, eating a tangerine, only to be hit with nausea. She runs to the bathroom, throwing up. Staring at herself afterward, she feels empty, yet strangely connected to the tiny life she keeps trying to deny. Lying on the couch, she whispers for it to go away, but she knows deep down it's already become part of her. Meanwhile, Director Jung sits in the back of his car, thinking about his earlier talk with the CEO. She wanted to expand the hotel business with him, but he brushed her off, saying he didn't like being inconvenienced. Her constant need for attention annoys him, but Jumi lingers in his mind. Unlike others, she isn't greedy for power or status, and that unsettles him. He remembers how she looked that snowy night when she lay beside him, trying to hide her fear. He finds himself strangely drawn to her. Then the driver hands him a report from her medical visit. As he reads, his expression changes. She's 8 weeks pregnant. His thoughts spin. He knows how cautious she is. The timing lines up. Memories of that night come back to him, and realization hits hard. The child is his. Shock runs through him. He never planned for a family, never wanted children, but now there's no denying it. For the first time, Young Young-yo has to face the fact that he might be a father. Still holding the phone, the director listens quietly, his expression unreadable. After a short pause, he ends the call and turns his gaze back to her. Jumi feels the weight of his silence pressing down, and her stomach tightens. He tells her again that she's not going anywhere until the baby is born. His voice is calm, but there's a finality to it that makes her realize arguing is pointless. She clenches her fists under the table, telling herself she has to find a way out, but his eyes on her make her freeze. She breaks the silence first, asking why it matters so much to him. She reminds him that he never wanted a family, never cared about relationships. He smirks faintly, leaning back in his chair, and says people change when their lives get tangled with someone else's. She doesn't answer, but deep inside she wonders if he means it, or if he's just saying it to control her. He tells her to eat, pointing at the food in front of her. She refuses at first, but when he repeats himself, his tone sharper this time, she reluctantly picks up her chopsticks. As she eats, he studies her, his gaze steady, like he's memorizing every detail of her face. She asks him to stop staring, but he doesn't look away. He simply tells her that she needs to get used to it because this is only the beginning. Later that night, she lies awake in one of the guest rooms at his house. She can't sleep. Every thought in her head circles back to the baby. Her baby. She thinks about how close she came to ending it all today, and her chest tightens at the memory. She whispers into the dark that she doesn't know what to do, and tears slip down her cheeks. In another room, the director sits by the window, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He's not drinking it, just staring into the amber liquid. His thoughts won't leave her. He remembers the driver's words about her appointment, remembers the report that confirmed everything. For the first time in his life, something feels out of his control. He lets out a quiet laugh, wondering how one woman has managed to twist his world upside down. The next morning, Jumi tries to sneak out, telling herself she just needs fresh air. But when she reaches the front door, the bodyguard is there, blocking her way. He bows politely and tells her the director ordered him not to let her leave alone. She feels trapped, frustration boiling inside. As she turns back, she finds the director already waiting at the top of the stairs, watching her with an unreadable expression. He walks down slowly, his steps echoing in the quiet house. When he reaches her, he leans close and says, "If you want to run, at least wait until the child is born. After that, I won't stop you." His words make her heart pound. She doesn't know if he's serious or just manipulating her again. She feels her face heat up at his words and turns away, pulling the blanket closer. He chuckles softly, saying it's strange how she gets flustered so easily now. She tells him to rest instead of joking around, but he ignores her, watching her with half-lidded eyes. His voice lowers as he says it feels different this time. She's right beside him, fully aware, Not like that night when alcohol blurred everything. She stiffens, not knowing how to respond, and he lets out a breath, closing his eyes as if he's finally easing into sleep. Lying beside him, she can't help replaying everything in her head. How close she came to losing the child, how complicated her future looks, and how this man, dangerous as he is, might be the only one who won't leave her side. She touches her stomach lightly, whispering to herself that she'll protect this life no matter what happens. The room grows quiet, and for the first time in days, she feels a strange calm. But then, just as her eyes are about to close, he murmurs her name. She glances at him, thinking he's asleep, but his eyes are open, sharp even through the haze of pain. He asks her if she really thinks she can raise this child alone. She freezes, realizing he's been listening all along. He smirks faintly and says, "Fall babies are stubborn. You'll need someone stronger than you to handle it." The next morning, the house feels heavy. She wakes up first, slipping out of bed and watching him sleep. Despite his injury, he still looks powerful, like nothing could bring him down. She remembers the guard's words about Song Ha-young and wonders what kind of danger she's really stepped into. When the doctor comes in to check on him, she quietly leaves the room, heading to the kitchen to prepare something light. As she cuts fruit, she thinks back to her decision last night. Keeping the baby wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving to herself that she wasn't completely broken. Later, when she returns to his room with the tray, he's already awake, leaning back against the headboard. His eyes narrow at the sight of the food. She sets it down carefully and tells him he needs to eat if he wants to recover. He gives her a long look before finally saying, "So you've decided then, you're keeping it." She swallows hard, nodding. He studies her for a moment longer, then smirks. "Good. At least now I know you're not all talk." If you're eager for the next chapter, drop a comment expressing your interest in a part 2. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time, ciao!